Ninjalens!
Konnichiwa, ninjas. Let's talk about Batman vs. Superman, Dawn of Justice. Let's start with some positives. From my perspective, it looks a lot like we were wrong about Ben Affleck as Batman. Personally, I think he did a great job as Batman and Bruce Wayne. And I was pleasantly surprised. Now, I was very happy to see that Ben Affleck did a great job of transforming himself into Bruce Wayne. When I looked on that screen, I did not see Ben Affleck pretending to be somebody else. I saw Bruce Wayne. And Jeremy Irons' Alfred is amazing. I think that both Batman and Alfred were really great. However, I'm going to let you guys know right now that this is not a Batman movie. And while he does headline the movie as Batman vs. Superman, it's a Superman movie. Batman's backstory is glossed over, and honestly, I think that's the best way to handle it. His backstory has been told a trillion times, so I think that we probably don't need to see a million times. There is very little Batman stuff and action going on in this movie. I think there's only a handful of scenes. And Jeremy Irons as Alfred is wonderfully sassy and snarky. As Alfred should be. While we're talking about the cast, let's talk a little bit about Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor. Now, a lot of the Lex Luthor in this movie is really wonderful. He starts off as kind of like a Google head executive, playing basketball in his corporate office, being like kind of quirky and smooth talking. And he does the Jesse Eisenberg standard thing where he's a quirky, brilliant, smooth talking guy. And I could see him running a company. There's a specific point in the movie where I kind of noticed something wrong with him. He seemed more insane, mentally unstable. And there was one specific scene in the movie where I think he went from a quirky, brilliant, smooth talking guy into someone who's more mentally unstable. And he's at a party, he's hosting a party, and he's trying to have a speech. And he just screws up the speech, and he's like, oh no, let me try that again. Oh, well actually, like he's talking to himself. He seems insane right up there. And to be totally honest, yes, to be a supervillain, you have to be a little mentally unstable. However, Lex Luthor always tried to come off as brilliant and smooth-talking and business savvy in front of people. And this wasn't after he was revealed to be a villain to anyone other than like Batman, who had his suspicions, and Superman, who had his suspicions. The rest of the world thought he was a good stand-up guy. After that, he kind of devolves into a bit of lunacy. He has some really brilliant moments, which I'll talk about later. This is not a Batman movie. This is a Superman movie sequel with Batman in it. Now, there is no Batman movie prior to this. This is the first time this Batman in this universe is appearing. And this movie has to do a little bit of backstory. Now, to be totally honest, I could have done without the backstory. I have seen it a million times. I've read it a million times. Batman is given a kind of partial backstory. They tell the key moment where his parents get shot, and they have a scene where he's in a well and gets shocked by bats. But for the most part, they don't give him much focus on his backstory, which is good. Most people know the backstory of Batman, and we don't like watching the backstory movies. Now, we don't really know how old Batman is and how long he's been doing crime. They say something about 20 years, and I'm not actually 100% certain. I'm not actually about 100% certain how long he's been fighting crime for. I'm Sidney Poindexter, and I'm head of the Batman fan club. This is how I actually talk. They say something about 20 years having happened, and I'm not sure if that's since his parents died or since he started being Batman. Ben Affleck is 43 years old, and it can be assumed that Batman's around the same age. However, actors do their thing. But it does a bit look like he's an older Batman, and Batman has been in his 40s and even 60s sometimes, and we'll talk a little bit about that comic book later on. So we're not sure about a whole lot about Batman. Now, this movie isn't just about Batman. This movie is about Superman 2. And it technically is Man of Steel 2. This is a Superman movie, essentially. And honestly, I think the Superman bits of this movie are some of the weakest parts of this movie. I didn't really notice this personally in Man of Steel. People were talking about Henry Cavill's limited acting abilities in Man of Steel, and I didn't really notice it in Man of Steel. But then again, he didn't really have that much acting to do. He mostly just kind of looked pretty, flew around and did Superman stuff, just took his shirt off. This movie kind of shows that he has very limited acting abilities. There were many parts of this movie where he's supposed to be trying to like grimace or maybe even frown or be happy. He's trying to have this kind of like sneer, and he looks like he just cannot figure out if he's trying to do an acting with his face. In this movie, I think Henry Cavill's limited acting ability shows a little too much. He's supposed to be having grimaces or furious faces, and he just kind of looks like a bumbo. There are scenes of this movie that I just could not be immersed in because of Henry Cavill being made of stone. It looked like he could not hold a face for his life. I'm not just going to tear apart Henry Cavill. There are other reasons this movie has problems than him, and he does have some good moments. When he's interacting with Lex Luthor and he has to be shocked, he does a very good he's very good at being shocked. He does a really good, I'm sad and I'm gonna fall to the ground. His limited acting range shows in this movie, and it shows a lot. Now let's talk about the person everybody wants to talk about. Wonder Woman! Wonder Woman! Wonder Woman! Yeah! Alright, so this movie does not feature a ton of Wonder Woman, but what we see of her is super fun and cool and awesome because I really like Wonder Woman. We don't really see a lot of her in her Wonder Woman getup at all until the end of the movie. But what we see of her is amazing. Wonder Woman's secret identity is Diana, and when she's not in her getup, she's Diana. That's what I'm going to be referring to her as. Now, Bruce Wayne and Diana kind of clash early on in the movie, and we get this really cool flirting scene between Batman and Diana. 9 out of 10 men would do anything if you asked them. And you're the 10th man? Actually, I'm the first. And Wonder Woman, I remember when I was sitting in the theater with everybody there, when she was about to show up, I was like, yeah, I know, we're about to see Wonder Woman, Wonder Woman, Wonder Woman. And when she showed up, I was like, Wonder Woman! I was like, yes, baby, Wonder Woman! Woo! And I'm not gonna lie, the dynamic between Bruce Wayne and Diana, that is Wonder Woman and Batman, kind of reminds me a little bit of the Justice League cartoon, where it was Batman and Wonder Woman who were kind of like lovey-dovey, if you know what I'm talking about. I mean, and there's a bit of Lex Luthor spying on everyone. And more than just their logos, we see that they are people that exist already in the movie. Wonder Woman, Flash, Aquaman, and Cyborg. Each of them get a little snippet of footage of them kind of doing something little. Cyborg by far gets the most. It's kind of like a scientist log. Oh no, this and this and this, this and this and this. And then something happens. I'm not going to give away. This is a spoiler-free review. And Aquaman's, by far, is the least impressive of all four of them. He's just kind of sitting in the water, floating back and forth. And yes, I am aware that I look a little bit like Aquaman, which sucks. Everybody at work, hey, you look a little bit about like the new Aquaman. You look a little like... Why do I have to look like Aquaman? I hate Aquaman. Aquaman sucks. Yes, I am aware when I do this, I look a little like Aquaman, the guy who plays Aquaman. Do not bring it up. I hear it all the time at work. I hear it all the time at school. Fun fact, I don't like Aquaman! Aquaman has the power to sit in water really good. Oh boy! Now, before they show the videos, they show 4 logos. Aquaman, Wonder Woman's, Flash's, and Cyborg's. I was a little shocked when I saw Cyborg's logo. I was like, who is that? And I was like, oh, it's supposed to be Cyborg. It's got the big C. Cyborg was never really a big Justice League member. He showed up a little more in the Justice League, especially in the New 52. However, he was more associated with Teen Titans, and even more so after the Teen Titans cartoon show. Now, each of the superheroes that have been slated to show up in Justice League stuff have their own really recognizable logo. Batman's got the whole bat thing, Superman's got the S thing, Wonder Woman's got the whole W's, and everybody's looking there, and Aquaman's got his belt buckle. That's an A kind of thing. Atlantis. Also Aquaman. But Cyborg never really had like an emblem on his chest, or really anything that signified Cyborg! And he wasn't that popular of a superhero either. He's kind of a junior Justice League type, you know, Teen Titans. In fact, he's really well established in Teen Titans in both the comic books and in cartoons because of Teen Titans and Teen Titans Go. Now that we're done talking about the characters, let's talk a little bit about the contents. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you. The verses in this movie honestly seems a little bit like bait. Naming this movie Batman vs. Superman kind of seems like a little bit of a rip, as there's not that much fighting, physical fighting that goes on between Batman and Superman. Most of the versus stuff is kind of philosophical. Batman thinks that Superman has ultimate power and he's dangerous. And Superman's philosophy is a lot like those obnoxious friends who say, "Why don't Batman just build a factory? He's just beating up poor people with his money." Yeah, that's a good joke, I guess. And Superman really doesn't like Batman because it seems like he's just beating up poor people. Both of those are kind of like the schoolyard arguments between two stupid friends at school. You know, the stupid friend who doesn't like Superman is like, "He's too powerful, I get point. Hey, I'm so funny, everybody high five." And that idiotic friend who doesn't understand how the universe at all works. "If Batman really wanted to help out in Gotham, he would just build a factory." Ooh, banana. And there is kind of like a philosophical tug of war going on. There's a lot of people who don't like Superman because he's dangerous and he could hurt people and he's unchecked. And a lot of people like Batman because he punishes the right criminals. In this movie, Batman seems significantly more brutal. He brands his symbol on people. Other than the philosophical verses, there's only 2 scenes where they even really clash in any sort of way. 2 scenes in the movie where they actually kind of clash, and a third one where they don't actually clash in any kind of physical way, they just kind of argue with each other. Once again, the whole philosophical thing. And other than them arguing, there's only 2 scenes of the movie where they actually kind of clash in any kind of physical way. The first is really, really short. Batman doesn't even do anything in this scene. And the second scene where stuff actually happens is really good. However, it's really contrived. I'm not going to spoil the plot of this, but their main clash where they actually go to blows is really contrived as to why they were going there. I honestly think they had a pretty decent build-up that they were going to fight until this scene. However, the scene was actually really good. If you do this, you won't actually have to see the movie. Now, a lot of people noticed, starting with the trailers, that this movie has a lot in common with the Frank Miller Dark Knight Returns. Specifically in the design of the Batsuit and the Mecha Batsuit. I saw that Frank Miller was listed in special thanks. I'm not sure if he actually worked on the movie or not. But there is one scene that is ripped from the pages here. Now, Batman is fighting a group of kidnappers in both the movie and here. In the movie, he's fighting kidnappers of spoilers, but in here, he's fighting kidnappers of a child. He breaks through the wall, he grabs a guy, he pulls him down, he breaks through the wall, he grabs his gun, and the criminal holding the kidnapped victim points his gun up to the kidnapped victim and says, I'll shoot him, believe me, man, I will, believe me!" And Batman just lifts the gun and blasts him. In the movie, he blows up his thing, but in the comic, he actually kills the man. And something that I noticed, when Batman is grappling up in a fight, there's a frame in the movie where he poses like this. Does that iconic Dark Knight Returns pose. Even with the theme, there's an argument against superheroes. There's a really big rally against Superman, and there's a few people out there saying the Bat Vigilante is bad. And there's a really big fight at the end of the movie, which I really liked. Now, if you watch the trailers, I'm guessing most of you guys know that Doomsday is indeed in this movie. And he looks kind of silly, and he does eventually look better. And the fight with him is actually really cool. We see Wonder Woman kicking some booty, and we see Batman kicking some booty, and we see Superman being a dink. Being like, "Oh no, I'm Superman." Now, the fight scenes with Wonder Woman and Batman are godlike, and the fight scenes involving Superman are a little lackluster. Except the fight with Batman, which is really cool. In the fight with Batman and Superman is really cool. It's really cool looking, and Batman gets some really cool lines in there. "You are brave. Men are brave." You know, kind of poking you know, a little bit of some really cool lines poking at the whole Superman, are you really brave? Is it really brave to walk into a battlefield knowing you're indestructible? And in the fight scene with Doomsday, there's another similar scene from The Dark Knight Returns. Alright, let's talk about some final thoughts here. There are some scenes that were obviously put in there as trailer bait, such as the scene where Superman lands and there are soldiers kneeling. That's part of a dream. I hate to spoil that for you guys, but that is a dream sequence, and I don't want you guys going in thinking that that's what the movie's going to be about. It's a dream. There are a lot of dream sequences. And to be totally honest, there's actually there are a few jump scares too, and I thought this was a superhero movie, not a dumb horror flick. But there were some pretty unpleasant jump scares. Batman's visiting his parents' tomb, and a really tacky jump scare, CGI jump scare happens. There's also a scene where Batman's like dressed in, it looks like it's from like Mad Max or Fallout, where he's wearing like goggles and he's got a scarf on, he's in the desert. And it's just like, this is obviously a dream. And that's where he encounters the Superman core, and he shoots people as well. This is like the scene, it's kind of obvious where Batman's just kind of like gunning people down. Superman's just lasering people. And they do like a double fake out where he wakes up and something else weird happens, then he wakes up for real. Honestly, I was not a big fan of those. I thought they were kind of stupid. Both Batman and Superman's mother have the same name, apparently. I didn't realize that until I watched the movie and they had a scene where they talked about it. I can't believe I'm such a big Batman fan and I didn't realize that. Now, I'm not sure. It's not really 100% clear if Batman's supposed to be really old or not, but it seems like he's supposed to be around Ben Affleck's actual age, is around 40. If that's true, he really gets around for a guy's age. Their fight with Doomsday is really good. The fight with Doomsday is really cool. However, honestly, I think the movie took a little too long and it was a little too slow getting there. I feel like they wasted a lot of time with the really slow stuff. I really enjoyed some of the things that I did see, the exciting stuff that happens. It's just, this movie feels like it has a lot of filler that could be just cut out. Generally, anything that has to do with Clark Kent and his dang girlfriend is probably some of the most boring stuff of this movie. Let's be totally honest here. This movie is titled Batman vs. Superman. There's not a whole lot of versus action going on. There is one good fight between him and Superman, which I honestly really liked. However, I don't think it's fair to call it Batman vs. Superman. I was also really looking forward to some kind of like Superboy look back where Lex Luthor gets his lab destroyed and his hair falls out, but no, they kind of cop out with the whole, he's getting his head shaved! He's getting his head shaved! Lex Luthor did not have a shaved head. He was bald. Bald. Oh yeah, they also had like, they had Jesse Eisenberg wearing he had that blue suit from Superman, from the Keanu Reeves. There are a lot of throwbacks and nods and point outs, and like, this movie is filled to the brim with like nods, throwbacks, and like little like, oh, this is from another thing. This is from another thing. There's a lot from The Dark Knight Returns. There's a lot from The Dark Knight Returns. There's a lot from Superman, the 1979 movie. There's a lot of throwbacks to the old Superman movies where Lex Luthor is wearing that blue suit. There's a lot for The Dark Knight Returns. There's a lot to talk about with this movie, so let me know if you want to see a non-spoiler restrictive version of the review down in the comment section below. Now, I must return to the shadows of the internet. But on the flash of the camera, I will return to the light. Ninja, out!
Subscribe to the Ninjalens channel, and your life will get 4 times better.
Yeah, you right.